Hey, this is Randy Edelman, composer of songs, films, and anything. You are on FaceTime with Todd Wharton right now.
So when it comes to a man's money, no matter what the age, always remember, never mess with a man's money.
What up, gentlemen?
Yo, what up, you carrot top looking mother...
Did you bring it? Hell yeah, I did! Then what are we waiting for? Let's play! Yeah!
Well, who's the banker?
I don't want to be the banker.
Why don't we just take a look at the rulebook and we can do our own financial transactions?
You know, that's actually a good idea.
Nah, man, not a good idea. Remember back in the day when one of you Urkel looking dudes tried to cheat me out of my money? Yeah, you got rich, but you almost got trying.
I do not owe you money! I told you already! I am not paying you for Take your freaking money and go, bitch!
Well, what should we do now? I've got risk. Well, I don't see how that could possibly go wrong.
Coming up next, Randy Edelman. So welcome back, everybody. So my guest tonight is a two-time Golden Globe nominee, BAFTA and BMI award winner. He's known for composing some great films and TV works that we all know. He's a musician, a composer, and a producer. But you know what? Let's take a look at a clip of a lot of the works that this man has done.
Triple X.
My name is Julius. I'm your twin brother.
Obviously. The moment I sat down, I thought I was looking into a mirror.
Only their mother can tell them apart.
Please welcome to the show, Randy Edelman.
It's great to be here with you.
Yes, sir. So let's go right into today. All right. So today, you're actually dropping a new single, if I'm not mistaken, and it's being released by Tribeca called Coming Out the Other Side. Is that correct?
The other side, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it was, during the last, 6 months when we were kind of all locked up and weren't supposed to certainly be traveling. I just got this idea because I haven't been writing songs. I did years ago, lots of them, but I've been just scoring films and things like that. So it had been a while, and I got this idea about a kind of fun thing regarding the, it wasn't exactly about the COVID, but it was about, when things are better, which who knows what's going on now, and we're going to be able to go out and, put our best suit on, and I had fun with it. It's a fun thing. It's not a serious thing, but it's cool. It's a cool record. I did it all back here. I played everything myself and had a lot of fun with it. And I'm really happy about the way it came out.
That's great, man. You got to perform these songs at certain venues around New York City and some other places as well. You're in LA right now.
Huh?
I mean, you're in LA right now, but,
Heart of Beverly Hills. But I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy.
You're a Teaneck boy, right?
Teaneck, right over the bridge. Concord Jungle, Bergen County. I used to hear about, I used to hear when I was a kid about Jackie Kennedy had her horses on a farm where she would drum, and I would always say, where the fuck is that? That's not around where I am. I'm right up near the bridge. Anyway, yeah, that's where I'm from, and I maintain that attitude, even though I'm in the heart of Beverly Hills.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I grew up in New York, but I've been in New Jersey a lot. My mother's from Scotch Plains. Oh, and yeah, I mean, home of the greatest Italian festivals of all time.
I mean, I know Scotch Plains. I used to run cross country running, and that's where there was like a big, one of those huge state track meets. I would come in like 458th out of 500 runners. That was around where I was.
So you're really good. You're probably like me, where I'm like, listen, guys, I'll meet you at the finish line. I see an Arby's over there. I'm going to go stop by and get myself a roast beef sandwich.
The problem, somehow, I was captain of the team. You know how bad that team was. But crazily enough, and when you say Scotch Plains, Scott, I think of one thing. The state meet, my last year. So I came in 458th or whatever it is. Guess what? My co-captain won.
Oh, wow.
Won first. Can you believe that? I'm telling you, that's a true story.
That's kind of funny, actually. Like the co-captain wins. It's like the co-captain wins and the other one.
He was, of course, great, but he wouldn't have been known as, he wasn't that good that they would have figured he's going to win. That's that big once a year, there were the big schools. You were in like class NNJIL, class 4 were the big school. This guy would not be a guy, who you would think would, but he did. I have my yearbook in here, but I'm not going to pull it in here to show you. But this is a true story, and it was Scott's Plains. You had to remind me that. 450. Thank God I didn't go into that field.
I'm so sorry. I know. I think you chose a field that did pretty well for yourself. I mean,
I did okay. Yeah.
You did okay. I mean, a lot of people accomplish what you do. Golden Globe nominees, BAFTA awards, BMI awards. Legendary people. Performing your songs that you wrote. I mean, that's the thing that happens every day. I mean, you wake up in the morning. I mean, Lady Gaga just called me and said, "Yo, Todd, I like the way you breathe, and I want to put that on my song." I'm like, "Really? I'm going to meet you in a little bit. Get some lunch." And she was like, "Dope." That happens to me all the time.
Good, yeah. Okay. Well, no, I didn't have really a direction, so I didn't know that I was going to go to all these different down these different avenues, so to speak. But I knew that I was into being, the best musician that I could be. And so if you if you have the good luck of being presented with opportunities at certain times, you have to be ready for them. So that's what my thing has been. It's sort of like, getting into these various, because my thing is a little unique because I've been in so many different areas, but it's all about the music and my original music, whatever venue, so to speak, it's for. So that's worked out well.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, I was talking with who you might know actually, Easy Mo B, who's a huge music producer, a 9-time Grammy winner. We spoke yesterday, and we both agreed that music can take you everywhere as long as you're passionate when it comes to it. And people really should not downplay the word passion, because I always say passion is your life. It's what you want to do. You're passionate about it. I mean, you started out when you were pretty much a kid. You learned how to play the piano. You were doing recitals in Teaneck, and obviously that took you to college. And that's when you started seeing these different roads, correct? That you started moving around.
Yeah. It was, too long a story, but even though I'm from New Jersey, you say, how did you end up in Cincinnati? Which it was like going to the moon, even though places a lot further away. But for whatever reason there was, I ended up there and transferring into the most fabulous, very serious music conservatory. And because, I always say these stories always come around to one thing, as you know. It always comes around to a girl, it's always about a girl. So here I was there, playing my classical music. And I always loved all kinds of music and loved listening to the radio and listening to records, but really kind of like listening to these records in a certain way where I was listening to the background, the arrangements, the orchestra parts, not only the song, I was really into that. And, so when I went to Cincinnati, there were these rock and roll bands. I never had a band or anything like that. I'm just like a solo guy sitting behind a piano. Okay, that's kind of simplifying it. But my thing was figuring out a way to that I could spend my life doing this without becoming like a music teacher or that was never going to be my thing. So when I went to Cincinnati, there were a couple of these rock and roll bands, at places like called the Mug Club and, the normal things that were going on. And I would see these bands, and there were a couple of, really nice looking girls that were singers. And one day I'm playing the piano somewhere, and I look in the back, and there's one of these girls sitting way back in a vacant hall. And I got done practicing, Beethoven concerto or whatever the hell it was. And she said, "Hey, you're really good." And I noticed, holy shit, it's that girl. So, of course, I said, "You know what? You should sing one of my songs." The problem was I didn't have any songs. I wasn't a songwriter. I was a musician. Of course, overnight, I wrote a song, blah, blah, blah. Ended up going into a studio, bringing kids from the music conservatory to play on this record. And the studio, it was like a 16-track, very primitive recording studio in literally a garbage dump in Cincinnati. But the name of that place was King Records. And on King Records was a guy by the name of James Brown. And James Brown walked in, whether it was that day or weeks later. And he wasn't there every day, and I wasn't there every day. But he happened to walk in and see me conducting a kind of small orchestra over these, rhythm and blues tracks that I for this girl. And I guess they said, "Hey," because in those days, if you were around there, you recorded in Chicago if you did big time records, or not Nashville, Memphis. Lots of great stuff happening. And they said, "Hey, you know what? Instead of going to Memphis or Chicago to do like the strings and horns, we can call this kid. We'll pay him nothing, and he'll bring." And that's what happened. So that's a little story, but it turned out to be a big thing because I started, by the time I got out of there, as well as other things, I had a lot of shit in my bag to schlep to New York and kind of start taking around and, but that experience was one that, just one of many. But at the beginning, it kind of, I got into something and I loved doing it. I was just having a blast and something different. And that led me a certain way regarding the record business and records. And I was doing a lot of other stuff, but this is right when I got out of school. I mean, I was a kid, 19, 20.
Yeah. Which is, did you say 1920? Or did you say when you...
No, I was a kid, and I was playing on Broadway. That I was doing that, and I was fortunate enough, I didn't realize at the time, because every great pianist in New York wants to have the gig playing the pit of a Broadway show. That's considered, it's a union thing. It's steady work. It's great stuff. I was able to start doing that. So I had a lot of stuff going on right out of school, different areas that, led to other things. And
well, let me ask something. How happy, because this is probably got to be a personal question for you. How happy are you that Broadway's about to do a full opening the week of the 18th in September to bring back everything? And I know it really well because they contacted me because I was doing I run New York City's Peace Concert in Times Square every year. I'm the creator of that. And they asked me if I could move it to the 25th. Because I had it in the 18th.
Right.
And I said, of course I'm going to move it. Like, I'm a New Yorker. I want you guys to bring back Broadway.
Yeah,
so
I hope it, I mean, I won't even get into it. It's really, you can imagine every show, especially musicals, how many people are involved and they haven't, and they're trying to go back. But you see, they can't go back. They can't just go back. It's much involved because they can put on Lion King or have Bruce Springsteen play his concert or something. That's a sure thing. Shows, you don't know about shows, so you can't just, you don't exactly know what's going to happen. That's what makes something like this difficult. Of course, certain things are going to go right back, and that's great. Other things, the new things, it's a Broadway show is a crapshoot, and so it's going to be interesting, and hopefully it'll go great, and everybody's going to go, and that's the way it is with certain, of these kind of rules. I guess it's still have, things that you have to go by before you go in the theater and spacing and all. But I mean, it's hopefully it's going to all come back and go well because there's so many people involved. I mean, my God, every show. I mean, you've got the actors and the lighting people and the musicians and the writers and the stage. I mean, people. Yeah,
and the crew alone is like at least 30, 40 people deep, easy.
Yeah,
Like people don't even understand that the construction crew, the carpenters, and the electricians alone, you're looking at over 20 people, depending on the size of the show, like the Lion King.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so hopefully it'll go well.
Yeah, I hope so too. Now, you were like you said, you were growing up with classical music. Did you have a goal of possibly where you focus on, all right, I love classical music. This is what I kind of want to do. Did you have a foreshadow like, hey, I would love to be a conductor of an orchestra one day, or was that kind of like where you were going? Because
No,
obviously you're in different directions.
All those things that you just said, yes, were in my head.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing them all, obviously blowing a little. Did I think I'd be conducting the London Symphony to do the score of Triple X or Jackie's Chanfel or whatever? No, I thought I'd be conducting an orchestra in a concert hall.
Right.
But pretty early on, like about the time that I said, when I was 16 something, with that funny James Brown thing, I saw myself swerving off that path. So the answer to the question is, even though I was doing it and in a serious music conservatory and I had to play all this, repertoire and serious stuff, I knew that I wasn't going there. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. As great as I was, as hard as I worked, that doesn't make it. You know what it's like? I was thinking about this the other night. To really make it in that concert world, you go and you see these. It's like, what's the difference between a great athlete and an Olympic athlete, let alone a gold medal? They got something else, they've got willpower and they've got something that allows them under unbelievable pressure, talking about obviously what's going on. That's always been the history. You say, how does a guy in a basketball game, when there's 3 seconds left and there's 80 billion people watching him, sink the 3-pointer? I'm generalizing, but okay, the way I'm getting back to the music is most of the people who are, your best concert artists, I don't only mean like Lang and those kinds of people. They're young geniuses, and they're going at it. You better be doing it with your 7 or 8, be playing with the, or you're not going to be playing with the New York or Philadelphia or LA Philharmonic when you're 28. It's sort of the way it is. So it's not that I didn't think I was, it's that I kind of saw a different avenue for myself. Not saying that I don't know what would have happened, but I had other things in mind. So what I did is I took everything that I had learned and continued to learn almost on the street while I was doing them, and developed myself in a lot of different areas. The conducting was great. What was I doing? Shortly after I was playing on Broadway, I started being musical director for a lot of these people whose records I collected, like Pat Clark, like Dionne Warwick. So I went out on the road. Now, I'm very young now. This is all happened in a short time. So I was conducting an orchestra like at Caesar's Palace, and I would say to myself, I don't believe, because it was such a short time, I don't believe I'm up here doing this. Yes, I was conducting a big orchestra, but it was at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, not the symphony in, But so I was able to do all those skills that I had thought about, but I adapted them to whatever came along. That fortunately enough, I got in position for these people, in some cases, these fools who actually thought I had a lot of talent at a young age to do this stuff. And so I started very young and did a lot of different things, just like writing songs. When I started doing that, I wasn't a songwriter, but the record business, as you know, you're not old enough to really have been there. The music business completely changed. Music business used to be a music publisher took a song to a record producer who worked at a label, who took the song to one of his artists that he produced on the record label. Well, obviously, those days ended a long time ago because 99% of the people selling records wrote and produced their own stuff. I don't care if it was the Eagles or Bob Dylan or the Beatles. That's what happened. So there were very few people actually selling a lot of records. by the, a long time ago, who didn't write their own material. So what I figured out is, since I kind of liked what I was hearing during those days as far as albums, I figured I would write these songs, but I better record them myself, because and that's what I did, and signed like 100-page form contract, with the company, the kind of normal story, figuring, you know what, I'll do this. If it doesn't happen, which it probably won't, I'll proceed on. But it didn't work out like that, Right. So for years and years and years, I was a, quote, singer-songwriter, and, people recorded the songs, but it's not like my albums, except in England, sold a lot. But I had a lot of success all over the world in different ways. So I did that for a while, and I never, ever thought about that. I was singing my songs because that's the way people would hear the songs, but I was able to get these record deals. And I always thought, okay, I do an album and it wouldn't sell. I mean, the album, maybe somebody would do a song. And I figured, okay, that's it. And I kept saying, that's it, that's it, that's it, for like 8 or 9 solo albums. And nobody can do 8 or 9 solo albums unless they have a hit single. And the only thing that happened for me was in England. So I went long past the time, my due date on that, quote, end of my career. This is all before all these films. People think I started scoring films when I was 3 years old to get up. Right. It was after a lot of stuff. I was into it, but I was kind of doing the other thing just because that was happening at the time. And a lot of great stuff happened, and a lot of interesting people did my tunes. But then I got into film scoring, and that's a completely musically a different animal than songwriting. So I didn't want to know about songwriting at all, because scoring a film is serious, challenging, very political work. And if you do 1 or 2 and you don't have the chops to do it, and you can't quote collaborate with directors, you don't stay there. There's only a handful of people doing it in a steady way out here. And so it's a real and it's 24/7. It's like 20 years of me doing nothing, never leaving this room, and loving it, by the way. Right. You're writing music. If you write music for a studio picture, it comes out, these star-driven things, all over the world, and it's there right away, and then you do soundtracks, and people may pick up the music and use it for other things, like what happened with me with all the Olympics and the sports things. And so that's sort of, it was, I just was focused. I never thought about anything for at least that long, even longer, until recently.
Now, besides scoring the films, you're not just scoring some of the scenes in the films. You also work directly with the people that make the trailers, correct? Because when they put the trailer, you don't? Never. No. Even though I, Scott, am the trailer king. Because to use my music in one case, I have a piece of music that, if you look it up, I'm not saying it's the most used trailer music there is. It's from a picture you never heard of, but if you heard the music, you know what you'd say? You'd say, oh, that's the music from The Rock. Right. But it's not. That's a different, those are different stories. But the thing is, a movie, the trailer for a movie, they never use their score, because they don't have their score till the very end. They use other people's music, mostly movie scores that have been done in whatever style or vein that picture is, and they use something, and that's what's the trailer. Now, once in a while, you may be able to find an industry. You may say, "Oh no, they called so and so to do." Yeah, once in a while on smaller movies or something, they'll call to use a score, a piece of music for a trailer. But that may be because they can't afford to buy the music they want, because they use music that's already owned by a big studio, or in most cases. So that's so my music, both, not just trailers, sports, certain commercials, it was just great. When I get done with a movie,
I go in and put it together the way I like, because it's never that way in the movie. You don't know what of that score is going to be in there, because unfortunately they don't just put it in there and where you meant it to be, etc. And so I do a soundtrack, and with my stuff, editors of all kinds, trailer editors, network sports editors, documentary people, they collect, like, when I say my albums, not just my albums, other composers. And so, with the way the technology is, they load up their computer with the soundtrack. They listen for certain pieces that may fit whatever project they're working on, whether it's a trailer for something, and then they use it. And they have to make a deal if it's trailer music, they have to make a deal to use that music for X amount of time, maybe 6 months, for a certain purpose. If it's theater, or do you also see the trailer on television? Yes, therefore you have to make that. So it's a whole area in and of itself, which is why it's kind of an astute question for you to ask me. But do I specifically? I have never written music for a trailer, but is my stuff all over the place in a million movies? Yes. And they use, there's obvious stuff if it's a kind of big triumphant film or something, but there's other stuff of mine that no one ever heard or know of. It's on my soundtrack usually. Right. And they pick that, and all of a sudden that music is used over and over and over again. And the reason they like it is because it's a piece of music. You see, you can't use a very familiar piece of music in a trailer. People would say, oh, that's the theme of Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? I mean, right. But so you have to use something. So it's almost like someone discovers something that works like $1 million for a trailer, and they will do whatever they can to purchase it and to buy it. And sometimes they call me and ask me, and I said, hey, it's a Universal picture. It's owned by them. I don't have any control over it. I can't call them and say, oh, I know these guys, or they don't have, let them use it. It doesn't work like that. I have nothing to do with it, So,
correct.
So,
Question for you. I've had a lot of musicians personally ask me about copyright. And lately, copyright is not as, in my opinion, as big as it used to be, because now that you have all these social media platforms, all your songs are copyrighted, right? But if you go on Instagram stories, TikTok stories, and all that, your music is actually up there, which means somebody that uploaded it, and now people can use it.
Yeah,
now, how does that work? Do you actually?
Well, I'm not.
It doesn't make sense. It's like a picky and choosy type of thing. It's like, wait, we could use it on TikTok, but if I put it on a video that I'm doing for a parody, I get whacked up. What's going on with that?
I can't. I don't want. I won't even say that what I'm telling you is factual, because I'm not sure.
No, just an opinion as a musician.
Here's the thing. This stuff is changing as we speak every day.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. Here's what happens. The organizations who are going to take care of me and everybody, billions of other composers, are ASCAP, as you know, and BMI.
Right.
Now, lately, you look at your BMI statement that you get every 90 days, and suddenly, guess what you see? You see streaming. And that's where this is taken care of. It's a measly amount, but they have a system. Don't ask me exactly what it is. And all these Spotify and Apple, there were artists who didn't, want their music or didn't allow it to be played. I don't know about all that. What I'm saying is, it's not great, because you see, years ago, if you wanted to track, if BMI or ASCAP wanted to pay me or pay anybody when your music, when the score is played on television, which of course they do 24/7 in every country of the world, that's easy. It was shown on ABC on the movie of the week from 9 to 11 on Tuesday, and that's easy. They do this blanket license thing. However, obviously, now it ain't that simple. It's not simple at all. Yes, people are obviously, just like kids now, kids don't even know, hey, did you know you're supposed to pay for that music? Well, they didn't have to go out and buy a record like we used to. So I don't know what to tell you, except that they are doing their best to try to take care of all people who write music, and yes, it's copyrighted, but how they track it, all I can tell you is that lately in the last couple of years, I see this stuff. Now you'll see, seriously, 2 cents, 5 cents, 11 cents. You'll, I mean, I'm not going to pull out my files and show you.
No, of course not.
Streaming. They are, and usually every statement, they'll send something saying, we just picked up TikTok and we're going to back to, you know, whatever you call that, where they back log stuff that was played years ago because they didn't. And so they're doing their best, but there's no way to keep up with this stuff because it's changing as we speak. So that's what they try to do. I mean, it's different than it used to be. And like I said, kids now grow up. It's not anything about them that they're doing something wrong. They just didn't have to go down to the record store and buy an album.
Yeah, I miss those days, the Tower Records, where you go there and you put on the headphones. You remember that? And you would listen. I'm not as young as you think. I keep myself in you know, I'm in my high 40s, but I miss the days going to Tower Records. Oh, yeah. Like, I want to be like, hey, what's the new Randy Edelman score that he's got going on? And you go over to the thing, you put it in, and you're like, wow, this is really good.
Oh, and yeah.
And you go buy it.
Yeah, and you look at the album cover, and for people like, not just people like me, you turn it over, you see who's playing the drums and who did this, and I mean, yeah. Now kids don't really see that because they just go bump and they listen to it. Oh, I like that, I don't like that, or something. But those, yeah, it's just a changing world, obviously, and a changing technology in that area. But like I said, they are attempting, but it's just like other things. Guess what? They're missing 90% of it. You know, they just can't. They can't. You can't know. BMI and ASCAP had a cool way of tracking, because you say, well, how do you know if they're playing something right now in Korea? Well, they do, you know, or Brazil or Antarctica. I mean, it doesn't. There's so you, for the most part, they were pretty good, but now that's changed. So they're attempting to keep up with it, but I don't know. I don't know technically the ins and outs of it.
Of course not. And you know what's great? I love the fact that you have your own studio in your own place. And even though COVID hit and affected a lot of people, especially in music, how did it affect you? Because in my opinion, I would think, even though it's not a blessing, it's a blessing in a sense for, I think, somebody like you, because it actually now gave you the time to really sit down and create stuff you've been probably wanting to do for years, because God bless that you're probably always busy, which is always better than being not busy.
Yeah.
But now that the industry shut down for, I think it was almost a year, right?
Yeah,
be like, wow, there's a lot of stuff I could do now that I could put together.
Well, I mean, the most obvious thing is the reason we wouldn't be here talking, because that's how you were, you know, is this new single of mine, because I haven't been writing songs, and I certainly wouldn't have written a song about being able after the COVID to go out. So in that sense, I did it. And also I wouldn't have possibly done it by myself back here in my little bunker, as I call it. And literally I think there were only 2 people who were actually, and I did it over the phone. You know, I mean, it's a, you know, people have this, you know, hookups and everything. For the most part, I'm playing everything, but there's a couple of like ooh la las that the girl is singing, you know, that we did remotely. But to be honest with you, I had, that's one thing. There wasn't too much, because I did have other things. I mean, there were projects and films and Netflix stuff that movies were wrapped. If a movie's wrapped, it doesn't affect me at all, because I'm sitting here writing. Now, I can't go to London and record with a big orchestra because you couldn't go there. And you weren't technically supposed to record even here with a big group. But most of the stuff now, I do, when I say I do it here, I write everything here, I do my own parts here, and then if it's a symphonic thing and has the budget and everything, then I just go out, but I still use what I do. But you pretty much, a director can come over here, and when I play him what I've done here and a cue is done, they're hearing exactly what it's going to be. If they don't like it, they won't like it. The London Symphony. It's giving them pretty much the same impression. Now, whatever style that is, if it was a funky thing or a symphonic thing or a period thing or a comedy, action thing. So it didn't affect me as much as it would sound like it would have affected, quote, working musicians who played live and would go out and weren't doing concerts. That's different. But I was pretty busy. And except for that, this song and this recording that I produced, that I wouldn't have done for sure, because I wouldn't have. It's almost like I wouldn't have given it the time of day to think about it, let alone.
And we're talking about coming out the other side, just to let new people that know, right?
Yeah. So that's a good thing that came about as a result of it, but
which is great.
Yeah.
So another curious thing, I had a couple of people ask me and wanted me to ask you. It was a good question. You've been doing so many films, all different genres: comedy, drama, fighting scenes, thrillers.
Yeah.
Out of all movie genres, what is the one that challenges you the most, that really critiques into your brain and says, this is the drama that I really love to use? Like, what drama do you really like working on?
Well, but you sort of asked me too. Here's the thing. If you're asking, I can't really, it's not the most difficult genre, funnily enough, is comedy. And I've done them all. Whereas a drama, if you have a scene and it's a drama, you kind of, the scene, the acting, the emotion, the passion of it, pretty well, just like in a dark film, pretty much dictates what the emotion, what you're going to write. It doesn't dictate the notes, but you kind of know what the pacing of the scene is and what it needs and the spotting of it, where a certain cue would start under dialogue and where it goes out over a certain scene change. Whereas in a comedy, it's sort of not so clear what you're playing. Are you playing the comedy? Never. That's a bad comedy. When you have people like I've worked with, whether it's Jim Carrey in The Mask or Joe Pesci in My Cousin Vinny or Eddie Murphy and these people are really talented comedic people. You don't have to, or the Ghostbusters 2 score that was just released all these years.
Yeah, congratulations on it, by the way. I know you've been waiting for that for a long time.
Story. Not that I was
I read about that.
No, I was. But the point is, and I just wrote something in there, and I said, all those great guys, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, all those people, Sigourney Weaver, they didn't need musical accompaniment. What needed musical accompaniment and support was the story, the darkness, the supernatural ghost. That's where the score is, not in writing funny stuff. Of course, once in a while you'll write something that's light, but for the most part, that's a big, dramatic, scary as shit score that I wrote. And the score before that, the great, great Elmer Bernstein, who did a brilliant score to the first Ghostbusters, it's the same way. Yes, you'll say, oh, there was that song, Ghostbusters. That's is good and wonderful. That's an extraneous thing to the movie. Nothing to do with the movie. Superimposed over them driving in their big Cadillac Hearst Ghostbuster car. You know what I mean? Okay, but back to your question. I suppose I can't really say that I have a favorite genre, because it depends on the particular film, and in most cases, the director of whatever that film is in that particular genre. I enjoy, and they're all challenges. I mean, writing a score, you're writing 50, 60 pieces of separate music, which are cues, which you decide where the music goes. And each one, by the way, has a title. Every cue in a film has a title, and they're logged with BMI and ASCAP, not as a film score. They're logged like songs, even though they're not songs. So it's pretty complex. And each one of those has to kind of have to do with exactly that particular of film, and how the director, and if the director, a good director, you're going to be able to hopefully write a much more pleasing and enhanced score than some other things that I've done where, you can just tell the guy's trying to get from here to there. Because directors, you'd think, who are these directors? And you'd say, in the old days, you had like Elia Kazan or somebody. You had people that came out of the theater. These are people who know about writing and tempo and pacing, and if it's laughs, where the laughs go. Well, these days in films, it doesn't work like that. You may have a guy who did commercials or was a hot music video director. I'm not putting it down at all. They just don't come from the old time theater background that directors used to come. So I meet all kinds of people, and funnily enough, it seems with me, the comedy directors are not necessarily funny. They're a bit serious, whereas the guys who make serious movies, like, unfortunately, he just passed away a few months ago, the best director ever, Alan Parker, the English director. He was like a North London beer drinking. He was just a blast. And when I worked with him, he was coming off Mississippi Burning. You can't make a better heavy picture. And here's a guy who did everything from Midnight Express to Fame to Pink Floyd, The Wall, to Shoot the Moon. I mean, this guy was amazing. And then I was shaking in my boots when I met him and got the opportunity to do. And the piece of music that I told you about, the most used trailer music in the history of film, is a piece called Fire in a Brooklyn Theater, from his film that he made about the internment camps, the Japanese internment camps in California, that horrible thing that happened during World War II. And it was not a good time for a bashing America picture at the time when that picture came out. So unfortunately, not a lot of people saw it. But that piece that I was talking about, right out of that, if you heard it, you'd go, oh, I know that piece. You've heard it open the Super Bowl. You've heard it in a billion trailers of really good movies, dark, exciting things. But it was a guy lit a match in a theater to get all these people, these poor people who lived out here in the 40s, who they were trying to round up so that they would kick them out of their house and put them away in these internment camps. By the way, not too far from where I'm sitting now, Oh,
wow. That's incredible.
And that scene was that. It was a horrible scene because everybody obviously had they had million people in a small theater, and they had to run out, and people got trapped. So it was a horrible thing. But instead of just kind of saying, oh, well, the scene works, you don't even have to write anything, I wrote something, hopefully, that was really powerful. And that piece of music has just stood the test of time, even though people don't really know where it's from. Original, Yeah.
I got to tell you something now. When I'm out there in LA at the end of August, because I'm coming out there for the show, if you're available, I would love to meet you and grab you a cup of coffee.
But do more. You'll come by here and we'll shoot the shit. No problem.
Oh, that would be great. And I want to flash forward.
The Scotch Plains thing. Forget that, man. I haven't thought about that, but that's a true story. 458. And where's my co-captain? 1. That was a little embarrassing.
I'm going to keep bringing up stories and be like, oh, man, this guy's coming out here and bringing up this bad past. Like, get out of my house.
I'm going to find my yearbook or something.
But I do want to flash forward to one thing happening today and give you a little rewind on this. Now, obviously, music, as you know now, is taking you everywhere. Roads you never thought you would go, just like you said in the beginning. And whoever thought that you'd be doing music for sports? Because a lot of people in music don't even think about that. And you did the NBC, the Super Bowl, the series. You were doing it all. Now, this year, I heard a rumor, correct me if I'm wrong, you were asked to do the theme for the Olympics? Or is that just a rumor that was around?
Yeah, well, it's not a rumor, but that's a while back. They've been using that for 20 years. And by the way, again, I wasn't asked to do that. They used a piece of music of mine. And
that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, that's what that was. It went on from where was it? Yeah, it went on from 1996. It started, and it's been
Right.
used summer and winter since then. And you know what? I can't even tell you if it's still going on. Now, there's a lot of my stuff that they use, but like I said before, they're using my scores constantly, and they'll find something they like and they use it. But I didn't write that thing specifically. Now, NBC did ask me to write when they had the pro football franchise and a couple of other things. ESPN, I did the tennis stuff. So there were a couple of times when they specifically called me and said, would you do this? But for the most part, it's music that I've written for films, and in most cases kind of high profile Hollywood pictures, you know, that they heard.
Wow. That's amazing, man. I got to tell you something. First of all, Randy, thank you for taking your time to come on my show today. These are the conversations. Yeah, man, these are the conversations I love to hear. Talking about things people know about, that intrigue people about the guests, not just the things we could read about, but really get in your head and find out your opinions and other stuff that you've been doing. And congrats on your song, the LA Awards that you just got a few years back. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I'm really looking forward to hearing some new theme songs you got coming out with some new films.
You got it.
I'm sure you got a plethora of them.
You got it.
Gonna be great. I'm going to send you my info through Instagram Messenger because we're connected now.
Let me know when you come out.
Yeah, I'm going to do that through Messenger. I'll send you my info. And, yeah, we'll go from there. But again, Randy, thank you so much for being on FaceTime with Todd Wharton.
And thanks for showing me how to be on Instagram.
My pleasure, man. It's what we're all about. It's love is love,
That
man.
was easy.
Love.
Spent 4 years doing it. No, it's okay.
And that's all. And I definitely look forward to seeing you soon, man, when I come out there. Have a blessed night and get some sleep, man, because you've earned it. All right?
Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye, man.
Take care.
So I want to thank Randy for being such an incredible guest and taking the time out of his busy schedule for being on FaceTime with Todd Wharton. Such an inspirational man to listen to, as a lot of my other guests I've had on the show. But hearing the backgrounds of what it takes to put a score together, be involved in some iconic films, and then be able to talk to you is an honor for me to even have you on my show. So thank you, Randy, for being here. And thank you to my live virtual audience, as always, for tuning in and supporting the show. Now, tomorrow night, I have another Grammy nominee and also an NAACP winner. Miss Karen White is going to be here tomorrow night. You all know her from the hit song, Superwoman. So guys, have a great night, be safe, stay strong, and if you're not living the passion of life, then use life in a way. I'll see you tomorrow night. Hey guys, thank you for watching. So the next time you're in the bathroom scrolling on your phone, why don't you stop on by on YouTube channel and subscribe? It's as easy as 1, 2, man, doesn't that feel good?